I guess I should have put the email. I'll just let all the ladies message me. It'll be cool.
Nice. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the MulletCast, the podcast where business and pleasure collide. My name is Evan Balmer. My co-host, Mike Mercia, he got called into work today, so he's out on the streets doing the corporate thing. Today we are joined by Norman Matthew. Norman's the frontman of As Strange as Angels. Check out his band online at asstrangeasangels.com, on Instagram at asstrangeasangels. Their new single, Mirror Mirror, is out now, and they're dropping an EP on 4/26. Norman, what's going on? Thanks for joining us, man.
Thank you guys for having me again. I'm so excited to be on this thing because business is my pleasure and pleasure is my business.
I love it. I'm going to be careful drinking coffee today, I think, because I almost sprayed that one all over the studio.
That's what she said. So,
Totally.
oh, quick.
Come on. So you did tell me before you were a fan of office supplies, so I see you're also a fan of The Office.
Oh, absolutely, dude. Michael Scott's my man, dude.
I'm really bummed my co-host isn't here then, because he went to college at University of Scranton, and yeah, totally.
Scranton party because it's Scranton party.
That's right. So we're gonna have to connect you guys in the future then.
Yeah, you are gonna have to. You know what? Because I remember, there was like a mug he had in one of the episodes that said "World's Okayest Boss" or something.
Right.
In a music school, and like someone had given it to me, I guess as a joke, but I was like, "Thank you." Like, the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. You know what I mean? Because it was I just love that show. Like I feel like Michael Scott sometimes because I think I'm really pimp, but I feel like no one else thinks that I am.
Right.
It's kind of funny.
So sometimes you got to take it the extra step and really convince people you are Michael Scott then.
Right? Like when he started his Michael Scott Paper Company and sold it for twice as much.
Right.
It was worth. I need to figure that out.
That's right. That's the way to go. So let's talk about how you ended up in As Strange as Angels. You had a band called Murder FM. How'd you get involved in music? How did Murder FM come about?
Man, my mom took me, so I either owe it all to my mom or I blame it on my mom.
Mm-hmm.
How you want to look at it, right? She took me to see Kiss when I was 5 years old, or maybe four.
Nice.
And it must have been one of their last shows too, which is really crazy. I remember Vinnie Vincent was playing. The crowd was sparse. Looking back at like Kiss now,
right?
It's weird how it must have made such an impact. Like I can remember that Gene Simmons like jumped into the crowd, which is he was mad because someone was throwing beer bottles. So
right.
You know they're getting heckled. Gene Simmons is jumping into a crowd. A band that size doesn't usually behave that way. So looking back on it now, it's like, and being a musician myself, I'm like, that must have been one of the last shows because you're just kind of irritated with everything that's happening around you, you know?
Right.
It's side stage because my mom's friend Pam ran the Coliseum in El Paso, where I'm from.
No way.
And, but I was on the side of the stage. I was crying for my mom. She had gone to the restroom or something, and Gene Simmons walks up. He looks at me and he goes, I was like, to this day, I have figured it out. He has a pick on his tongue, and he goes, now, knowing what I know now, whoa, Gene, I should not have maybe grabbed that. Maybe grabbed off Gene Simmons' tongue, right?
Right.
But I know that then, so we just went for it.
Nice.
And, it was just at that very moment, there was something about the whole thing that was like, I don't know what is happening right now.
Right.
I just know that I love it, right? So Kiss like kicked it off. Then when I heard Guns N' Roses, I wanted to be Axl and Slash in one, which got me into playing guitar and singing. So I started at a really young age, man. I mean, I was playing with these jazz cats around my hometown when I was 12 and 13 years old.
Wow.
I was newspapers and stuff because it was like I was hanging with these cats that were in their 60s. And in El Paso, they were like jazz legends, this guy, Art Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just because I just wanted to play. I didn't care what I was playing. I could have been playing country, jazz,
right.
You know what I mean? If I had to learn banjo to be on stage, I would have done it.
That's cool.
So I was all geared toward it. And then working with Murder FM, I was in a band called Never Enough. And we had released a record, signed really young, and I got a developmental deal with Capitol Records.
Mm-hmm.
So I must have been 17 going through all this stuff. And Murder FM was like my first big thing. I worked with producer Bo Hill, who, you know, is a co-founder of Interscope Records.
Right.
Produced Rat, Warrant, Alice Cooper, Bob Dylan, Eric Clapton, like all these cats, right? And it was like, we call him Uncle Bo now.
Right.
You know, my first like real dance with any kind of cool success, because we were on Warped Tour, opening for Rob Zombie, opening for Korn, like doing arena shows. It was just crazy, man. I mean, I remember opening for Korn in my hometown of El Paso, where I seen Kiss, you know, that very same place. So that in and of itself was crazy too, because I'm like, man, I used to stand here and like watch bands, and it's crazy how powerful being on one side of the barricade,
right,
completely different, right?
Totally.
So, you know, that's, I mean, Murder FM, we were doing our thing, but then I went through some personal stuff, went through a very challenging divorce, to say the least. Not saying anything bad.
That's right.
Start that out there.
That's right.
Nonetheless, it's part of my story, and it's part of my life. And that kind of had me step away from music for a minute, because it had wounded my self-esteem. It had put my self-awareness like on hyper focus, and it had really just kind of like made me have to get right with my head and my heart in a lot of ways. And my number one thing was my little boy. It was like, man, I cold turkey stopped touring. We had a deal.
Right.
And I stopped touring. I was like, I don't want to be out on tour. I don't want to whatever. Like, I want to make sure that I am not, you know, a part of my son's life, and that anyone sees it that way and perceives it as that I don't want to be, you know. So
Right. How
for
old?
me, like, he's 5 now.
Okay.
Yeah, he just turned 5 in February. And for me, I just immersed myself. And at that time, he was 2. So I immersed myself in, like, anything that was fatherly. And that was, like, all I did. I didn't want to be anything else but. That was the most rock star thing I was going to do, right?
Right.
But over time, you know, you start to heal. Things get better. I'm sitting in my house, you know, and my little boy's playing drums, or he's singing songs that I'm writing. And we play music together. And I'm like, you know what? I really want to go for this. I was lucky enough to be able to do it. I've worked with some great cats like Bo Hill and Tommy Lee. And, you know, I mean, just in the people that I idolized growing up, I'm like, I've reached that little level for myself that I'm like, I want my son to see this. My brother played guitar for John Fogerty on tour. I have a cousin that's in the Rascal Flatts. It's like, music is a family business. So
Right.
for me, it was like, I want him to experience that with me. You know, so I came up with this "As Strange as Angels" thing. It had always been in my head. Just started pounding away from there. I know it's a super long answer to a really short question, but
And
how we got there, you know.
right. So what's the meaning of the band name to you?
For me, well, it's lifted from a Cure song,
Okay.
Heaven, but not purposely. See, so some people may think it's really genius. Some people may think it's really stupid. But either way, I'm paying attention at all. It was actually "Strange as Angels" is what I was thinking first, and I was like, for me, it was like I wanted to go opposite of everything that I had done. You know, like my band Murder FM was murder, and everything was black, and we wore this black latex paint, and we were characters, and it was built off, you know, stuff like Kiss in a way, you know, and that we were trying to purvey a certain character. You know, FM was a thing, you know, it was like Rob Zombie type stuff, right? Marilyn Manson. That's the direction we were going.
Right.
And I wanted to go opposite. I was like, "As Strange as Angels," I'm going to wear white in the video. I'm going to not sound like murder and death. And I'm going to actually, rather than singing songs from a character point of view, I'm going to sing them from everything I had gone through, you know, because I'd been pretty lucky, knock on wood, up into, I've always been on this little trajectory. So while the divorce was so big in my life, it wasn't about a divorce, but more about the challenges that it presented me, you know, emotional challenges, lifelong challenges, you know, like we have a beautiful little boy together, and we don't agree on a lot of things, but we're going to be in his life long past even when we die. Like the fact will change, right? So there's those kind of like, man, we're going to have to deal with this forever. You know, I had to do things I had normally not done, like therapies and counseling and counselors, right? So I ended up having this crazy, like, emotional roller coaster because I'm sitting on people's couches going, I never realized all the hurt inside me, right? That kind of stuff. But rather than, you know, get mad at it, I embraced it.
Right.
And, whoa, I ended up unlocking this, like, pathway for lyrics that I didn't realize I had run into such a wall. I was so concerned about what people would think about what was coming out of me musically, right? Like, oh, like if I'm singing this song, this has to be about my wife at the time, or now it's like it has to be about my ex-wife, and you're like, no, it actually has nothing to do with anyone that you would even think of. And I just learned how to connect what was inside, then just it a little more so that people could make it their own song. You know, it could mean something to them. So for me, the As Strange as Angels thing was like, you know, it's more about just, I guess, everything around you and life. And it didn't have a super deep meaning, but it's weird how it's coming together now. And I think that's part of what feels so natural about the project and is connected with people right out the gate. I had no idea that we were going to do this well, you know, knock on wood again. Like, I mean, we just shot out hard.
Right. I mean, is that scary when you think about, you know, you said you had been on this trajectory of success and then suddenly, like, and in some ways you probably perceive divorce as a failure, right? Which maybe it is, maybe it's not.
It was a huge failure to me, because all I ever wanted to be was a dad, first of all. And even though those are two different things, it was like, did I fail my son because I wasn't able to keep it together? Failure as a man, because I'm like, man, everybody loves me. I'm in a cool band. Like, it's been so cool all the way up. How did I even go wrong just being cool?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, how did we get to this point? So that was that whole thing of the self-esteem being crushed. You know what I mean? And you're like, you need a piece of that to be an artist and to get on stage. You know, and there's a fine line between being egotistical and having a healthy ego that is able to walk out on stage. It's like you can't be a motivational speaker if you hate yourself.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not going to resonate with an audience. You know, you have to go out there and like believe in what you're doing. And that doesn't mean that you think you're the greatest thing ever. It's just like with business. You got a business idea. People aren't going to believe in your product if you're not believing in it yourself.
Right.
So it's the same kind of thing. You really got to believe in it. So with all that being crushed, it was like, oh my God, like, I don't know. And all I knew was music. So when I stopped touring and stopped doing music for a while, I went even further down the rabbit hole, you know, because it was like, I'm living this life now that I don't really even understand.
Right.
You know, I did music and I had good times and I was happy with everything in life. And somehow it just all went.
Right. Like everything's gone at the same time, right?
Yeah. You know, and I was lucky. I mean, I have my little boy and that's a wonderful thing. But I mean, so he would keep me centered, you know, but there'd be times where like, you know, he falls asleep and then I go, and so, you know what I mean? Keep it together for him. And then I'm like, then you have time, your brain goes, right? So time I have with him, I immersed myself in him. It's like, as soon as he would go to sleep, it's like, I couldn't wait till he woke up again. I'm like, come on, baby, wake up, wake up.
I don't know what to do.
Daddy's brain needs to be busy. So I'm like cleaning the house and organizing his closet and right.
Have you seen the Head Welch documentary of him and his daughter? Do you relate to that, I guess?
That dude, absolutely, man. I mean, he's got a really wild story. Like mine isn't nearly as wild, but I do. And crazy because I guess visually, someone will look at it, which is part of the reason why I stopped touring too. Was at that time, you know, senses are on high, and it was like, I don't want someone to think like what you're looking at is exactly what a cliche would be. You know what I mean? He is a singer in a band and he's full of tattoos and he just wants to go on tour and party, blah, 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 that whole thing. It's like, dude, I don't even drink. I've never had a cigarette in my life. Like, the only drugs I do are the ones my doctor prescribes me, you know? So it's stuff like that it was like I had to, as much as I could, flip the script. Now, his challenges were a little bit different, but it was still the same sort of thing of like, you're living one world and then you have another world. And it's like, how do we make all these work? And what actually kind of tied all the dots together for me was business and my music school, because I realized, hey man, like I can travel and still be a dad. Like it's the same thing as if I was a CEO of a really big company and had to fly for meetings. Hey man, if I'm away from the house for a little bit, it's the same as if my meeting ran longer, right? And so I started to find all these cool parallels to kind of encourage myself to get back and do it, you know.
Right.
But it was like him, man, like Head, man. It was a long journey back, dude. You
Yeah,
know?
for sure. Yeah, I mean, and it's hard. It's like, when you're going through that stuff, you feel like, everyone thinks like you're a parent, so you should have all the answers, right? But
Yeah,
every parent's figuring this shit out as they go along. You know what I mean?
absolutely.
Like you're like, I'm going through divorce. I got a kid. I don't know what to do. It's okay
Yeah,
to not know what you're doing. It's normal.
yeah.
So,
You know, I was a one man gang for
right.
in a lot of ways. My real challenges came with that. I moved to Dallas to get married,
Mm.
and when that didn't work out, you know, anything. Disclaimer.
Right.
Um, was I also didn't have a friend or family base there because I wasn't from there.
Right.
And add to that, since I went cold turkey on the touring, there was a little bit of breakdown with my band members at the time, Murder FM, and those dudes were my best friends though too. So it was like not only was I swinging in the dark, but I didn't have anyone behind me to like catch me either.
Right.
Which made it all the more challenging because it was like I didn't have a bro to call up and be like, "Yo, dude, let's just
Right.
go get some wings and talk some trash." It was like that wasn't the level that I was on. It was like just trying to get through the day.
Right. Right. Totally. So you mentioned your school, the Sound Foundation. When did that start? Was it at that time, or was it already existing?
No. I started it in December 2012.
Okay.
I had been teaching guitar lessons, as a means to an end, if you will. I don't know. That's the phrase. I guess I did it actually out of love, so I won't say that.
Right.
Wasn't really loved it. I started really young, teaching guitar in El Paso, actually, in like a utility closet of a YWCA. They had some extra rooms there, and I used to go work out there. And I told the director, I'm like, let me teach guitar. I learned a guitar here years ago.
Right.
A beloved family member who's passed away. Oh, well, we call him Uncle Dave now. But he had passed away, and I was kind of like, I want to carry that legacy on that he had started.
Right.
And so I got their room. I was like, tell you what, like, we'll sign them up. You guys just take a cut. Like, I just want to, like, teach kids, like, or adults, whatever, it didn't matter. I just want to teach guitar and, like, spread my love of music. And as I was teaching guitar, I realized there were so many other cool little niches I could fill because it's like music is more than just the lesson. And I would have people have songwriting questions for me, production questions for me, adults. As my band got further along, I would have bands reach out to me like, "Yo, dude, how do you do this? How did you guys book this show? How do you get from here to here?" And my brain is like, "Thanks a lot."
Right.
My brain is like,
Right.
helping these people like in a business way as well as in like an actual disciplined format of let's set up band consultations, let's set up songwriting clinics. Maybe you don't need to be here every week because you're 25 years old and you got your song, but you still need to bounce that off someone, and maybe you don't want a producer but you need an outside perspective. Maybe you're a band that doesn't need a manager, because if you don't really understand what a manager does and you're not that far along anyways, you're both really spinning your wheels. But we all need consultation. So I was like, artist development,
Right.
that ticket, right? I was like, dude, gotta make this happen. So it grew into this bigger thing. And so I grew out of teaching in music schools and more into, man, there's just so many facets of the business. I counted one day, I was like, there's over 80 different jobs like in the music industry.
That's insane.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm really trying to work on making this more than just local, because Dallas has a great music scene. We're down in Deep Ellum in the entertainment district. And I've got some great instructors there. Johnny Kelly, who plays for Type O Negative in Danzig, CJ from Drowning Pool, Ryan from the Polyphonic Spree. I brought in my friends, Nuno Betancourt, Will from Evanescence, John 5, Machine Head, Gemini Syndrome. Actually just was on a plane with Andy Timmons from Danger back in the day.
Right.
Just talking about clinics and stuff we can do, and just trying to make things really cool. Pat from Red Sun Rising is going to be coming out as our next clinic. But back to it, it was like, man, I can use some of the really cool resources and network that I have to not only really embellish the program and make it even cooler, but give them an experience that like they wouldn't normally be able to have, right?
Right, totally.
I set up a studio there. So we have a studio, we have classrooms, I have a stage for live performance coaching. But now I'm trying to figure out the game on like, all right, man, let's go online. Like I work with some artists just of my own accord,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and we'll get on Skype, we'll get on FaceTime, and we're all over the world. But I really want to set something up like next level because the more I'm doing it, the more the business is changing, the more the model is changing, the music industry. I'm like, man, we need to be helping all these artists, as in, again, the management consultation. There's bands that are just getting started out that I'm like, they may not have a fighting chance the same way that music has a black cloud over it in the way of, well, what are you going to do with music? Blah, blah,
Right.
blah, 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 right? And I'm like, well, a lot of things, if you gave me a chance. For example, my son's 5 years old and plays soccer. He's got 13 years to decide if he wants to keep playing soccer and maybe have a chance to be a professional soccer and go to college playing soccer on a soccer scholarship, right?
Right.
A musician might not really get the chance because they're held down until they're 18, then they go to college, and then they blow their student loan check on a guitar, right?
Right.
And I'm going to start a band.
Right.
But 3 or 4 years to figure it out. And if we could all figure it out in 3 and 4 years and turn it around, that'd be great, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's not a reality. So I'm trying to catch them at that point or help kind of propel them when they're already adults and go, okay, well, let's build your brand.
Right.
And let's put together your artist infrastructure. And let's really put a plan in place with goals and milestones to try and get you from here to there. And so it was just, again, long-winded, man, but I get so excited about it because when I think about all the things that we could do and want to do, and I think the ways that it would help music industry stuff,
Right.
product, artists that are really getting out there and going for it, helping the consumer, rather than just going, hey, I'm gonna throw my song on SoundCloud and like pray that everyone likes it.
Right.
And then wonder why it didn't work. And you're like, well, because you threw a party, dude, but you didn't have a guest list.
That's right. That's right. You got to plan your party, right?
Yeah. So the reason why I started the Sound Foundation was because I saw how much more there was to it, and I would be talking with really cool guitar player kids or musician kids or songwriters, and they're like, well, my mom wants me to be, a lawyer. And I'm like, cool. So be an entertainment lawyer. And
Right.
I'm like, yeah, dude. Well, or my mom wants me to be a doctor. I'm like, cool. This dude got paid, I don't know how much money when my voice had gone out. We were overseas and he came and gave me like a steroid shot,
Mm-hmm.
in the neck. And I'm like, how much that money did that dude make? Like, be that dude.
Right.
Because I'm sure there's way bigger artists that are willing to pay way more money because they're playing for 20,000 people and, Drake's voice went out.
Right. Totally.
And so it's like, be that doctor, be the doctor to the rock stars,
Yeah.
But they don't think about that because it's just music has this thing over it that's just so tunnel vision, right? It's like you write a hit song and you're a big deal or you're not.
Yep. No, it's true.
There's so much more around it,
There is. So did the Sound Foundation help you kind of get through that divorce period too, or did you dive in there a little bit?
At first I kind of pulled away from everything because I just had to like get a grasp on it. Like the school kept going, and it was one of the moments where I realized, okay, if I want to work on the business, I can't work in the business at the same time.
Right.
So I had to kind of like step back and go, you know what? Let's look at it this way. This is my time where I'm going to grow the business a little more. Look at it from the outside.
Mm-hmm.
The recruitment, the ideas for the programs, this and this, but still have a chance to breathe.
Right.
And kind of really get a grasp on what was going on around me. But then once my head cleared up and I got the cobwebs out, I immersed, tenfold, like even more so, and was like got more hyper focused into the school. My little boy actually goes to work with me now, which is the coolest thing ever, man, because I'll like look back and he's like sitting in the drum booth or something, just playing, or he's working on his piano, and that's a cool thing. And that was one of those things again where I said I don't want to walk away from music because I want to be able to have these memories for my son, remembering, I would go to my dad with shows, or his band would be playing and I would throw him his guitar, like that kind of.
That's cool. What's the music scene like in Dallas right now?
It's pretty cool. It's never really gone away. It's like every other music scene. It has its really hot moments, and it kind of like duds out. And Deep Ellum, the entertainment district itself, is like awesome.
Right.
It's squeezing on tight, because it's such a flourishing neighborhood and district right now that you're starting to get what's like happened on Sunset Boulevard.
That's cool.
Very touristy, people want to come in and like start building high rises and luxury things, and let's put a mall in the middle of the entertainment district. I don't know that factually, but stuff like that. And you're like, no, we want to keep it the way that it is, dirty and grimy and clubs, because that's what's happening there. But a real good friend of mine actually owns two of the really big clubs out there, the Bomb Factory and Trees, and they're kind of like the center of the Deep Ellum music scene. Awesome. So there's a lot of killer bands, man. I mean, a lot of killer bands.
That's cool. And you're helping keep the scene alive by educating the kids early.
Absolutely, man.
Which is cool.
I'm going to be responsible for a big chunk of the next generation, and that makes me happy.
That's awesome. Very cool. All right, so back to your music. You're actually in town. You don't have those fresh curtains behind you all the time. You're not at home. You flew to New York. And you're playing Arlene's Grocery tonight in New York. Tommy London gig.
Yeah, I'm super excited. It was I've got a few acoustic shows that I'm really, really excited about. So rather than come out the gate swinging with the full band shows, like I wanted to approach this whole project with, let's do everything different, right? So with Murder FM, or just maybe any project I'd ever been involved with, it was like big, over the top. I mean, I myself was like over the top. Persona was top. I'm like, so let's kind of go and let's go backwards and let's make it about the song. And I'm gonna, since I'm already been the most vulnerable that I've ever been, like lyrically and vocally, I'm like, let's just go one more step and stick myself acoustic in these shows. Tonight in New York at Arlene's Grocery for Tommy London's thing, he had invited me out, which was awesome. Tommy, yeah boy, with Frank Ferrer of Guns N' Roses, like their drummer playing too. And so I've got Andy Blacksugar, who's played for Peter Murphy and KMFDM. He's going to be backing me up on guitar.
Nice.
Super pumped about that. It's going to be super fun. Then the next two shows I have are with John Corabi, the second singer from Motley Crue and the Dead Date. I will be doing a couple of those in April, and he's performing acoustic as well. So that was kind of cool, because you get him to do that, and you're like, well, yeah, man, let's both do it. That'd be kind of cool. But the vibe is set for the acoustic stuff.
Nice.
But I'm excited about New York tonight because I have been fascinated with New York since I was a little boy. Batman, Spider-Man, New York, Dark. I think there's a Gotham Pizza across the street from my hotel. I went there last night. I was like, I don't even know if it's good. It's just called Gotham Pizza.
Right. So I gotta go.
Gotham Pizza.
That's cool.
I love everything about it. I just want to like stand outside and just soak in New York.
I got my a shared universe Batman sticker.
Oh, dude, yes.
I'll have to get you one of those.
You can see them.
Nice.
All my tattoos.
That's cool. So is New York a big part of Murder FM, or were you guys more like on the LA kind of scene? Being from Dallas?
You know what? We were. I always try to make it this direction. Once we got our deal going and we had done all our bigger stuff, we started to get much more of like a New York thing happening.
Right.
But at that point, I think we were all kind of tagged out in a way, because you work so hard for so many years to get to that level. You get a little exhausted, a little emotionally exhausted. And when we started the band, man, we were kids.
Right.
You know, I don't think any of us had a car payment between us.
Right.
Then on the backside of it, now you're worrying about, I got a mortgage. Dude, my fridge is leaking. Like, who do I call for the warranty?
That's right.
Children, you know what I mean? It's just like your head is in a different place. And so if the two worlds aren't able to work really well together, it becomes challenging. So that was a shame, because we had really worked up to like, but I mean, we cultivated a little draw around here, and it was cool. And so I wanted to keep playing New York all the time. The guys would get so frustrated because they're like, why do you always want to be in New York, man? Like, there's lots of people and traffic and whatever, and it's expensive. And I'm like, I know, isn't it great?
Right. Yeah, that's right.
I love it. But yeah, the East Coast was like towards the back half of our career.
Gotcha.
We really took off West Coast, whatever. And then when the deal came out, or when the record came out with that deal, the Midwest started to blow up for us in the East Coast. It was really cool.
That is cool. You want to give us a little flavor of some of your acoustic?
Absolutely. La 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 la.
Always fun to do that in the morning as a singer, right?
Right, yeah, man. Got to get that morning crud out.
That's right.
You guys got that in there?
Yep.
Cool. This is Mirror Mirror, the new single, now available. I'll be here all weekend. Waitresses. Reaching for a sign I have to realize. Every time I try for a star behind. Passing through constellations, I'm drifting out of sight. Captivated by the luminance, I'm just a satellite. Blinded by the light, reflecting on the love. A passenger who struggles for control. Mirror, mirror in the sky, tell me where to go. Cross my heart and hope to die in the afterglow. I'm so far away, I'm so far. Can I find my place in the stars? Spinning worlds floating through the universe, searching for a reason so it doesn't hurt. I have to find the center. I'm meaningless without. It breaks my indecision and tears apart this doubt. Blinded by the light, reflecting on the road. Passenger who struggles for control. Mirror, mirror in the sky, tell me where to go. Cross my heart and hope to die in the afterglow. I'm so far away, I'm so far. Can I find my place in the stars? Reflecting on the road, a passenger who struggles for control. Gripping to the edge, above the blackest zone, swimming in my head and fighting for my soul. Mirror, mirror in the sky, tell me where to go. Cross my heart and hope to die in the afterglow. I'm so far away, I'm so far. Can I find my place in the stars? Reaching for a sign to realize. Boom.
Nice. Nice,
Awesome.
man. That translates well acoustically also.
It does. You know, I was
It's really
really
cool.
worried because my producer Sahaj, she had me like up in the stratosphere
Right.
for that chorus, and I'm like, I think I cried at one point, like tears going, like, oh, yeah, dang yes. I don't know if you had ever seen maybe the Def Leppard VH1 movie
Mm-hmm.
that they put out years ago. But I remember Joe Elliott was trying to sing that note and and he's yelling like Mutt Lange's like again higher. And he's like, I can't fucking play. I
Right.
can't sing this note, mate, or whatever he said.
Right.
But when I finally hit it, it was like, dude,
Yeah.
I had reached the next level for myself. And a real big part of the project for, with me, with the Strangest Angels was, look, man, marketplace is clogged. Consumers are beaten over the head with content. I don't want to do something unless I can bring something new to the table.
Mm-hmm.
And that has to start with me evolving as an artist, like visually, mentally, physically, lyrically, spiritually, like everything, it was like, I need to not just go, hey, I wrote this really cool song and I think everyone should love it, but I wanted it to really mean something. So it had to mean something to me first.
Right.
Before it could mean something to anybody else, So I took quite a bit of time to get there because I really wanted to make sure that I was doing something that was going to offer something up, new and fresh to like the music world, or as best that I could.
Right.
So those challenges that my producer presented were huge for me because it was like, well, I'd never sung like all the way up there. I had never sung that dynamically. I had never put so much thought into it. I worked myself to the bone to try and get something that was really, really special for me.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's like it's like a new beginning for you, right? So you want to come out with like a bold statement, right? Like you're kind of, you've probably been out of the, we had a guest recently, he called it the darkness, what he referred to as his married years, But
Yeah.
you've probably been out of that for a while, but this is like your first kind of public, display of like, all right, here's who I am and what I'm doing now,
Yeah, it is, and it's a weird spot to be in because I've been in the business long enough that in my own, little scene and little bubble,
Mm-hmm.
I've been lucky enough to make a name for myself to a certain degree. So you're not starting from scratch in that regard, but
Right.
then you are because I'm also trying to do something that's, a little off the beaten path that I had created, where some people might not actually dig it, or it isn't heavy as my previous projects, or it's not as dark as it was, or it's dark in a different way, and that's I really connected more to the emotions rather than the visual and the presentation.
Right.
So and it's different in that way. I mean, I even look different. I had like crazy mohawks and all kinds of stuff, and I was
Right.
like, I'm gonna do everything different. I'm gonna grow my hair out, and I'm gonna like sing different, and I just wanted it to be as different as it could in a way because someone like Dave Grohl can go from playing drums in Nirvana to singing and playing guitar in Foo Fighters, and
Right.
what it does is going to be different. For me, it was I can't change my voice. I can't go to Guitar Center and hey man, give me a different tone for my voice today. Cool,
Right.
awesome, do that. So I had to build everything around it differently. So everything else had to be different
Mm-hmm.
in order to have the vocal stuff change. And then it was like, okay, now we've got to make it powerful because now we're launching it. And I do want it to reach as many people as it possibly can. I'm not shy in that,
Right.
and that's part of it. Going back to it earlier when we first started, I said you got to have a certain amount of ego.
Yep.
You got to be ready to be the car salesman,
That's right. It's
and
true.
I wasn't there yet. I didn't think that I had anything special, so I definitely didn't want to beat anybody over the head with, "Hey man, check out my song.
Right.
Hey, check it out. Hey, I'm gonna incessantly message everyone on social media, right?"
Right.
Had to be there and it had to be right. I had to believe in it.
Mm-hmm.
So once I believed in it, then it was like, okay, I believe in it, and I think you should believe in it too.
That's
So
cool.
I wanted to do well, man.
No, that's cool. I mean, I've told plenty of people there's nothing wrong with being successful, right? Like, you're not doing this to not make a living, right?
Well, it's weird. That's always a weird thing in music. Like, if you say that you do it because you want to do well,
Right.
then that's weird. And I'm like, really? So then why are you pitching your band's T-shirts to me at the show?
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah,
Be like, we're coming tonight to play for free, and we're gonna donate money, and we're gonna give away all our stuff. Because like, you can still have a business
mm-hmm.
and be successful at it, but still believe in what you're doing because there's value in what it is, right? So like
Absolutely.
my lessons in our music program and our artist development stuff, like, yeah, we charge people because we have valuable information. We have people, instructors that have been on Rolling Stone magazine and sold platinum records. And like, you know what? They've been there and done that. So the time that they've clocked in their life with experience, I'm like, it's not tangible. You can't grab it and be like, here you go, give me $100 and I'll give you all this knowledge. But we're going to spend the time together to get there and map it out. And like, dude, that stuff is priceless. Like, I wish I had that growing up, and that was part of it. You know, I wish I had someone like Johnny Kelly, you know, that I could just go, mom, I need $200, like sign me up for these classes, but like Johnny's gonna show me the way, dude. You know, it was like I didn't even have the stoner guy down the street that we could all idolize. That lived in hair so long and his guitars are so cool, right? We had to learn, you know, with our own devices, which was cool. You know, looking in retrospect, looking at it now, it was like I had to figure it out. But if I had also had a place to go to help push me along, I think maybe, man, I could have even gone further down, even quicker, you know?
Right. No, it's true. It's valuable. I mean, I actually go to a place, I think I mentioned to you a while ago, in Asbury Park. So hopefully someday you'll come here and check out the Lake House Music Academy. It's a similar vibe. They actually got me on the flip side of the stage eventually. Like, I thought I'd never play anything in my life, and recently played a couple gigs in Asbury. They played some bass, so it was cool.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it was really cool. So they're similar. They go from, you know, tiny kids all the way up to adults, so it's sweet.
Well, you know what we should do then? So when we start the dates that we're doing for As Strange as Angels, I'm thinking we come up to Jersey and you need to be the special guest bassist.
No.
That would be awesome.
I'm not at that level, but what we'll do is we'll hook something up with Lake House. You can pop in and talk to their students. That would be cool.
All right, we'll get the students and you. There you go.
That's right.
I'm gonna drag you up there, man. Come on, dude. I promise you, my songs run like 3 notes.
That's sweet. Yeah, I mean, I can play the intro of Running with the Devil on bass, so that's cool. We could start with that, you know. Right.
I'll take it, man. That is awesome.
That's
that makes
killer.
me happy because that's another thing with the music that just gets me so like bent out of shape sometimes. You know, like there's some sort of timestamp on your validity as an artist or something. Like, oh, you know, once you reach a certain point, if you haven't entered this level, then you should be playing music or something. If you have, it's cool. It's kind of like, hey man, if you've kind of made it, then you can do it till you're 80 years old, and we'll all spend hundreds of dollars to go see you, like the Stones, right?
Right.
But if you didn't, then you just need to give up.
Right.
And it's like, no, you don't, man. Like, who made these rules? Like, you know, it's not like sports. It's not like you're gonna get injured playing guitar or something. And there's this real cool lady, by the way. I cannot think of her name now. We should check it out because I've been telling everybody about her. She's like 65, 66. She's on Instagram. You can figure out a way to go. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
And she's drum lessons, and she's going off the hook, but she's out of control. She's like doing some Danny Carey Tool stuff and like Neil Peart, like.
No way.
Yeah, and I'm like,
that's awesome.
That's what I'm talking about, man.
It's cool, for sure.
Yeah, because I think it's just it transcends more. I'm like, maybe if you're trying to be like a pop star, like by 19-year-old,
right?
But it's kind of like, dude, like, I don't like that. So that makes me very happy to hear that you're doing it.
Yeah, it's magic. I was in a similar situation where they threw us in, like, it was a group of people that had never played anything in their lives, really, for the most part, you know. And there was a woman also showed up that first night, always wanted to play drums. She was probably like in her 40s, and just started, you know, they taught her a couple things. By the end of the night, she was playing drums on some songs, you know. The smile on people's faces, it's amazing. It's cool.
That's what it's about. Yeah, man. You know, it's like, hey, you know, maybe you shouldn't tour or something, and if you job or something, and you just, you know, that may be one thing, but to not play music, I'm like, no, dude, that's absolutely ridiculous. And actually, what's weird is I teach quite a few attorneys, I teach psychologists, and it's really crazy because they've kind of come around in a different way that, hey, I always wanted to be in music,
right?
And I do it because I was chasing my career, but now that I can afford it, you know, like I can leave my office at 2:00 and go jam music for 2 hours because I'm the boss in my place, right? And so that's really cool because I'm like, I teach this IP guy, and he's such a baller.
Right.
And he's just, man, I want to go jam. I'm like, did you have work? He's like, yeah, I'm gonna go jam. I'm like, awesome. To get out of the office for right now. Yep. So it's really cool because it's different things for different people. It's not just about, I gotta make it, right?
Yep. No, it's very cool. All right. Do you want to play us out one more song? What do you feel like doing? You want to just talk about some gigs or get out of here? It's up to you.
Whatever works for you works for me, dude.
All right. Why don't we play one more? So let's hear another acoustic version.
You got it, man. You know, I'm going to man up right here.
And then once again, anyone that is around New York City catch as Strange as Angels. Norman doing some acoustic dates tonight at Orleans Grocery. What time are you going on there?
8 o'clock.
All right, cool. I think doors are at 7.
Get in your PJs and Netflix and chill.
Nice.
Song's called Days Go By. Days go by and I can see you wanted to take the breath out of me. Now I'm on your mend and I never meant to hurt you anyway. If I could only find my heart, my lips would say, with arms wide open, don't let go of me. Giving into you. Giving into you. I close my eyes and try to be everything that you wanted of me. Say what you want, say what you will, say anything, fight it at will. Just say it's forever. With arms wide open, don't let go of me. Giving into you, lost myself along the way. Giving into you, still looks like yesterday. Kept holding on when we knew this love was going wrong. Kept holding on when we knew this love was going wrong. Giving into you, lost myself along the way. Giving into you, still looks like yesterday. It still looks like yesterday. Boom!
Nice.
Thank you, man.
Thanks, Norman. That was awesome, man.
Thank you, guys.
We appreciate you. When your EP comes out, April 26th, you're going to do a band date in Dallas to kind of launch?
Absolutely, man. Yeah, we shot out with the single Mirror Mirror first, which came out on the 15th.
Right.
And that was just kind of like the gauge, let's see what happens. And it got a lot of traction on Spotify on their indie release charts. Alternative Press named it 10 songs you need to hear, which was really cool, because just a lot of stuff that I didn't expect. I had very, very tiny expectations. I tried to temper them as best I could.
That's cool.
So to see it kind of come out the gate like that is massive. So yeah, it kind of changed the game. Just the week of the single release kind of changed the game on what we're going to be doing with the band stuff. So yeah, absolutely, we'll come out swinging and do some band shows, and it's going to be awesome. And one of the reasons, I guess, too, I was like, let's do the acoustic stuff first, is I didn't want to beat people over the head. I wanted to know if you really wanted to see it. Because if you do, you're like, find a need, fill a need, right? Business practice. You're like, okay, you do want to see the band, so we should get out there and do it. I didn't want to be doing it if no one wanted to see it,
Right.
That's kind of like one of those things, just like when you work with bands, you're like, no, you shouldn't go on tour yet if you don't have an audience, because you're going to wonder why nobody was there, right?
Right. That's right.
Practice what I preach the same way, and I'm like, well, let's just build it a little more, and then really go for it wherever they want to see us. So if it's Idaho Falls or Casper, Wyoming, or Bozeman, Montana,
Right.
which by the way, really off the hook when you play there. Wherever it is that they want us, then that's where we'll be.
That's cool.
Just trying to do Ashbury Park, New Jersey.
That's right. Well, that's right. Just keep in mind it's a little far from New York, so you can't always get out there and turn right back around on a show day.
Or we could just plan it out properly.
Yeah, we could do that. That's all right. That's a lesson for the kids at the Sound Foundation.
Yeah, pay attention to a map.
Routing is a learned skill sometimes.
Oh my god.
Totally.
Right. Know where you actually are, and then take it from there.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Well, listen, we appreciate you making the arrangements to hook up with us and get on here via Skype from your hotel in New York.
Sorry about the background, but it's pretty dope.
That's sweet. You travel with that, right?
Yeah, I bring it for every back.
That's cool.
Looking in the screen, I was like, man, I look like some guy that's like about to make like a terrorist demand video or something.
That's right.
All right, here's what I want.
Right. It's your manifesto, man.
Oh, there you go. That's better. Right.
I like it. All right, Norman, thank you very much.
Thank you guys, man.
Excuse me. Once again, check out As Strange as Angels tonight, 319 live at Arlene's Grocery, Tommy London gig, 8 o'clock. A couple acoustic shows you can check out. The dates online at asstrangeasangels.com. Follow the band on Instagram at As Strange as Angels. Check out the Sound Foundation for the kids in Dallas. Norman, good luck. Once again, also Mirror Mirror videos online. It's on Spotify everywhere. Getting great reviews.
It's like that credit card. I forget which one it is, but it's everywhere you want to be.
That's right. Awesome. Thanks, Norman. Good luck with the gig tonight, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Have a good one.
All right, take it easy.
Yes.